Minister. Thank you for inviting me to make a presentation to the committee.
Ultimate goal is to constrain Canada's capacity to make sovereign decisions. Foreign interference is fundamentally a matter of Canadian sovereignty. Too many Canadians and MPs are taking democracy for granted. Instead, a government that claims to have a values-based foreign policy should be defending and protecting Canadian democracy, freedoms, and way of life. Subversion by Beijing is the single greatest threat to Canada's sovereignty and democratic way of life today. Canada needs a coherent deterrence strategy that imposes cumulative costs on hostile state actors. First, lower the threshold for investigations by following the lead of our allies and establish in law clear thresholds for foreign interference as well as punitive consequences. 2, delineate foreign interference, subversion, and subterfuge. When a foreign hostile actor intentionally, deliberately, and repeatedly violates Canadian law and resorts to prima facie illegal as well as criminal conduct, that amounts to subversion and subterfuge. 3, foreign interference in Canada appears to be concentrated in large metropolitan areas. So, task the integrated national security enforcement teams, which have already proven themselves effective against terrorism, with foreign interference investigations and resource them accordingly. At a minimum, activities directed against MP Chong, his family, and ostensibly other MPs amount to conspiracy and harassment, which are criminal code offenses and thus readily meet even the exceptionally high threshold for expulsion of diplomats that the Prime Minister has laid out. 4, in effect, the CCP's United Front Work Department behaves like a state-sponsored transnational organized criminal syndicate. So let's treat it as such and shut down these thugs and their club secret police stations. 5, the UFWD is enabled by China having the second largest foreign diplomatic service in Canada. Why is Canada accrediting so many more Chinese diplomats than Canadian diplomats are accredited in Canada? 6, explicitly restore CSIS's subversion mandate that was abandoned after the Cold War. 7, having just retasked the NSI COP with yet another study, for the purpose of this one study only, the Prime Minister could opt to turn the NSI COP from a committee of parliamentarians into a parliamentary committee, while giving Canadians public assurance that there will be no executive interference in the study. That would give the NSI COP, rather than the political executive of the day, latitude to decide on the content and timing of matters on which it feels it is in the national interest to report to Parliament. 8, build cross-party agreement on an integrated national security strategy, the way some of Canada's key allies have long done. 9, now that it appears that the Prime Minister may have misled Parliament, which is a very serious matter in a Westminster constitutional democracy, that is yet more reason for an independent public inquiry. Canada needs to draw red lines to stand up to bad actors by sending a cordial yet clear message that breaking Canadian law to constrain Canadian sovereign decision-making is unacceptable and will have real consequences. Je vous remercie.